US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has revealed that President Donald Trump is openly puzzled why Iran has not yet capitulated, despite the largest American military buildup in the Middle East since 2003. In a Fox News interview broadcast on Saturday, Witkoff said Trump is curious about Iran's continued resistance. He quoted the president wondering why, with two carrier strike groups now in position, dozens of additional F-22s, F-35s and F-15Es deployed, and heavy munitions flowing in, Tehran still refuses to make the concessions Washington demands on its nuclear program. Witkoff carefully avoided saying Trump is frustrated. He said the president simply doesn't understand why Iran hasn't come forward, and said, "We don't want a nuclear weapon, here's what we're prepared to do." This is classic maximum pressure diplomacy in action. Trump gave Iran a 10 to 15 day window for a meaningful deal. Zero enrichment, limits on missiles, and curbs on proxies, or face bad things, widely understood as military strikes. The military posture is now overwhelming. USS Abraham Lincoln is already on station in the Arabian Sea. USS Gerald R. Ford is days away from joining it. And air bases across the Gulf are filling with advanced fighters and support aircraft. Why is Trump so surprised Iran hasn't folded? Because the strategy worked before. In his first term, maximum pressure sanctions brought Iran to the table. This time the pressure is both economic and military, yet Tehran is holding firm. Iranian officials have repeatedly said they will never accept permanent zero enrichment and will not negotiate under the threat of force. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has called the US approach real risk of military aggression. The next round of indirect talks is scheduled for Thursday in Geneva. Oman is mediating again. Both sides say there was good progress on guiding principles in the last round, but the core gaps remain exactly where they were: enrichment levels, missile limits, and regional proxies. Iran insists any deal must include sanctions relief first. The US insists on verifiable permanent limits first. Tehran's response to Witkoff's comments has been defiant. Iranian state media and officials are framing the remarks as proof that Washington wants regime change, not a deal. At the same time, Iran continues military posturing. Joint naval drills with Russia in the Gulf of Oman have just concluded, and IRGC units are conducting exercises near the Strait of Hormuz. Possible consequences are stark. If Iran makes no meaningful move by the end of Trump's deadline, the risk of US strikes rises sharply. First limited hits on nuclear and missile sites, possibly expanding into a sustained campaign. Iran has already warned it will retaliate against US bases in the region and could attempt to disrupt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, which carries 20% of global oil. Even if talks continue, the public rhetoric from both sides is hardening. Witkoff's comments signal that Trump's patience is wearing thin. For Iran, any perceived capitulation would be politically suicidal for the regime inside the country, especially while student protests are flaring again on university campuses. One additional point worth noting: this is not just about nuclear weapons. Trump and his team see Iran's entire regional network, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iraqi militias, as the real long-term threat. The capitulation language is deliberately strong because the administration wants Tehran to understand that the price of defiance is now extremely high. Geneva talks on Thursday will be the next test. If Iran offers nothing new, the military option moves from planning stage to decision stage. If Iran shows flexibility, a narrow deal is still possible, but with two carriers, hundreds of advanced fighters, and a president who is publicly curious why Iran hasn't given in, the margin for error on both sides has almost disappeared. That is where the situation stands tonight: high military pressure, hardening rhetoric, and one last round of talks before the window closes. The next 10 days will likely determine whether this ends with a new agreement or with American bombs falling on Iranian targets.